I met her nearly 2 years ago, during a school trip to Europe. She was the teacher's daughter, and I remember the first moment I saw her. There was an instant connection, something I couldn't explain. She had a boyfriend at the time, and I didn't want to overstep any boundaries, but the more we spent time together, the more I realized that we had something special. It wasn't just the flirting, the little touches, or the late-night conversations that made me feel that way. It was how comfortable I felt around her, how easy it was to be myself. We spent so much time together during that trip. And as we talked, she opened up about her relationship back home. It wasn't healthy at all. She talked about the problems she had with her boyfriend, how they had been stuck in an unhealthy cycle for months, but she didn't have the courage to break it off. It was clear that she was unhappy, but she didn't know how to end things. That's when I began to notice how emotionally attached we were becoming. The lines between friendship and something more were starting to blur. When the trip ended, things didn't just go back to normal. After she broke up with her boyfriend, we got together shortly after, and it felt like magic. Our relationship was everything I had hoped for. We were inseparable, lost our virginities together, and had the kind of connection that made it feel like we could take on the world. The summer was full of laughter, fun, and adventure. I thought I had found the person I was meant to be with. But as the months passed, things started to change. By the time December rolled around, it felt like our relationship was starting to fall apart. I was busy with school and work, trying to balance everything, and she was struggling with her own issues. She had been diagnosed with anxiety, and it had been hard on both of us. She would have episodes, sometimes acting like she was on top of the world, sometimes spiraling into a deep depression. I always tried my best to be there for her, to talk through everything and help her, but over time, I began to feel drained. I was putting so much energy into her, into trying to be the best boyfriend I could, but I was struggling to take care of myself, too. Things got even worse when my dog, the one I had had since I was 3, passed away. I was devastated. It felt like a part of me had died, and I was struggling to cope with the loss. My heart wasn't in it anymore, and I found myself pulling back. I wasn't as available for her as I had been before, and she started to notice. We argued a lot, mostly about little things that didn't really matter. Her anxiety made everything more intense, and my lack of communication didn't help. I became distant, and instead of talking through our issues, I just backed off. But what I didn't know was that during that time, she started talking to a guy in her robotics club. I knew this guy, and I didn't like him. He was a jerk, and I didn't trust him, but I never imagined that she would turn to him for emotional support. She told me, years later, that when all we ever did was argue, she would text him and hang out with him. They would laugh and joke around, and she found comfort in that. She said it was nothing physical, but they started to flirt. It wasn't just the fact that she had been talking to him. It was that, in those moments, when I was grieving and feeling lost, she was getting what she needed from someone else. She would call him smart and funny, and he would compliment her, saying things like "You look good today." Meanwhile, I was dealing with the grief of losing my dog, and I felt like she wasn't there for me. I never knew how to communicate that with her. I was so wrapped up in my own pain that I couldn't even see what was happening with her. And when I asked her about it, she said nothing was going on, they were just friends. But it wasn't just friendship. It was emotional cheating. It was filling the gap that had opened up in our relationship when we both stopped communicating properly. I didn't know the extent of it until she finally told me the truth. A couple of weeks ago, while we were sitting together on the couch, I asked her if anything had ever happened between them. I had this gut feeling, and I couldn't shake it. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and confessed everything. She started crying as she told me about the flirting, how she had started to rely on this guy for emotional support, and how it had crossed the line. She admitted that when everything felt like it was falling apart between us, she didn't know who to turn to, so she turned to him. She told me that he had even given her an ultimatum, it was either him or me. And she told me that she didn't know who to pick. That hit me harder than anything. I had done everything for her, tried to be the best boyfriend I could, and she was telling me that she didn't know who to choose. I was in shock. I thought we were in love. I thought we were building something real. How could she do this to me? She explained that during that time, her anxiety had been out of control. She had been trying different pills, but they weren't helping. She said it was all part of why she acted the way she did, but I didn't know what to think. Her therapist had told her not to tell me until we were in a better place, but I wasn't sure how much of it was her anxiety and how much of it was just her choosing to go down that path. I didn't know how to respond. I was hurt, angry, confused, and heartbroken. I never thought she would do something like this. I thought she was the one. But now everything felt like a lie. The person I trusted, the person I loved, had been emotionally unfaithful to me. So, what do I do now? I'm still trying to figure it out. Do I forgive her? Can I even trust her again? I don't know. The pain of what she did to me is still fresh, and I can't help but feel like everything we had was tainted. But I love her, and I don't know if I can just walk away from everything we've built. Maybe time will heal the wounds, but for now, I'm just lost.